546 BC. Sardis is burning. The richest man in the world is about to become a human barbecue. King Croesus of Lydia, a man whose name was literally synonymous with wealth. He didn't just have money, he had the Midas touch. Standing below him is Cyrus the Great of Persia, the man who just dismantled an empire in weeks. But Croesus didn't lose because he was outgunned. He lost because he was right, or rather, he thought he was. Today, we're performing a psychological autopsy on the most expensive mistake in history. This is the Psyche of Power. Act 1. The Illusion of Certainty. Croesus wasn't a fool. He was a pioneer. He was the first to issue gold coins of standardized purity. He understood value. But power has a side effect. It creates a positive illusion. It's a psychological buffer that makes you believe you're immune to luck. Psychologists call this the endowment effect. We overvalue what we own, including our opinions. Croesus knew the Persians were coming. He decided to do something no king had done. He decided to test the gods. He sent 7 messengers to the 7 greatest oracles on earth. He gave them a specific instruction. On the 100th day after leaving Lydia, ask the oracle, what is King Croesus doing at this very moment? At home, Croesus did the most random, unpredictable thing he could imagine. He boiled a tortoise and a lamb together in a bronze cauldron. 6 oracles failed, but the Pythia at Delphi, she nailed it. She said, I smell the odor of a hard-shelled tortoise, boiling in brass with the flesh of a lamb. Croesus was floored. This is what we call the illusion of validating information. Because the oracle got one thing right, Croesus concluded she could never be wrong. This is the foundation of a cognitive death trap. He sent 3,000 head of cattle and bricks of solid gold to Delphi. He wasn't just paying for advice. He was buying a guarantee. When you invest heavily in a source of information, you lose the ability to critique it. Your brain literally cannot afford for that source to be wrong. Then came the big question, should I attack Persia? Her answer is the most famous riddle in history. If you cross the river Halys, a great empire will fall. Croesus was ecstatic. He heard what he wanted to hear. He didn't hear his empire would fall. He heard Persia would fall. This is confirmation bias in its purest, most lethal form. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we need it to be to justify our current desires. Act 2. The Architecture of Ambiguity. Why did the oracle give such a vague answer? To understand this, we need to talk about the Barnum Effect. In 1948, psychologist Bertram Forer gave his students a personality test. He then gave them all the exact same feedback. He told them, you have a great deal of unused capacity, which you have not turned to your advantage. Everyone thought it was written specifically for them. This is the secret of horoscopes, psychics, and biopsy. The oracle wasn't a prophet. She was a master of syntactic ambiguity. She provided a linguistic mirror. Croesus didn't look at the message. He looked into it. He saw his own ambition reflected back. A great empire could only mean his enemies, because in his head, he was already the protagonist of history. He crossed the river Halys. He crossed the line between calculated risk and delusional arrogance. But Cyrus wasn't just another king. He was a military genius who didn't care about oracles. He cared about logistics. The battle was a stalemate at first. Winter was coming. Traditionally, ancient armies went home for the winter to wait for spring. Croesus followed the rules. He disbanded his mercenaries and headed back to Sardis. Cyrus didn't follow the rules. He did the irrational thing. He pursued Croesus in the dead of winter. Here is where the psychology of innovation meets the psychology of tradition. Cyrus used camels. Lydian horses had never smelled a camel before. The scent terrified them. The legendary Lydian cavalry became useless. Croesus's certainty was based on a world that no longer existed. He was using yesterday's logic for today's war. The city fell in 14 days. The great empire had indeed fallen. It was his. Imagine the cognitive dissonance. The man who verified God was now being treated like trash. Cognitive dissonance occurs when your core beliefs are shattered by reality. The brain literally feels physical pain. As the flames rose, Croesus finally understood the oracle. But it wasn't a eureka moment. It was a death moment. He screamed the name Solon, a Greek philosopher who had warned him years ago, "Count no man happy until he is dead." Solon knew something Croesus didn't, the ludic fallacy. Coined by Nassim Taleb, the ludic fallacy is the mistake of thinking that real life risks are like games or oracles, neat, tidy, and predictable. Croesus thought he had solved the game of life by testing the oracle. He forgot that the universe doesn't have a fair play policy. Act 3, the anatomy of self-deception. Cyrus heard the screaming. He was curious. He ordered the fire to be put out. Legend says Apollo sent a rainstorm. Logic says it was a lucky weather shift. To Croesus, it was another sign. Cyrus asked him, "Who persuaded you to march against my land, and be my enemy rather than my friend?" Croesus replied, "The God of the Greeks. He is the one who encouraged me." This is the self-serving bias. When we succeed, it's because of our genius. When we fail, it's because of bad luck or bad advice. He actually sent his chains to Delphi to ask, "Are you ashamed of yourself?" The oracle's reply was the ultimate pivot. She told him, "You should have asked which empire would fall." She was right, and she was a con artist. Both can be true at the same time. We do this every day. We listen to experts who give vague predictions. If they're right, they're geniuses. If they're wrong, we misinterpreted them. This is the Bayesian brain theory, but gone wrong. Our brains are prediction machines. We use past data to predict the future. But if your prior belief is that you are invincible, you will distort every new piece of data to fit that belief. Croesus survived. He became an advisor to Cyrus. The man who had everything now had nothing but his wisdom. But did he really learn? Or did he just swap one certainty for another? The story of Croesus isn't about greed. It's about the illusion of control. We think that if we have enough money, or enough data, or enough likes, we can control the chaos of the universe. Today, we have the modern version of the oracle algorithms. We live in digital echo chambers. Our oracle tells us what we want to hear 24 hours a day. We are all Croesus. We are all verifying our own biases and calling it research. Wealth doesn't make you smarter. It makes you louder. and in the silence of a mistake, that loudness is deafening. The kingdom of Lydia is gone, the gold is melted. What remains is the psychology of the fall. To escape the Croesus trap, you must do the hardest thing for a human brain. Seek out the information that proves you wrong. True power isn't in knowing the future. It's in knowing your own capacity for self-delusion. It's the intellectual humility to ask, what if I'm the empire that's about to fall? History is a graveyard of sure things. Croesus didn't misread the oracle. He misread himself. You are not the protagonist. You are the observer. Don't let your ego write the script. If you enjoyed this dive into the dark side of the mind, subscribe. We're going deeper next time. Remember, the oracle never lies. She just tells you who you are. Check out our other breakdowns of history's most powerful and broken minds. Stay skeptical. Stay hungry for the truth.